Most of the time, finding a place to park your car in downtown Manchester is not that difficult. But some of the parking lots downtown adjacent to area businesses, especially during busier parts of the year, like the summer and fall, do fill up, and not always by customers of those businesses, and some of them are starting to take notice. How enforceable it is to determine who is a customer and who isn't may be tricky, and signs like these may ultimately be more advisory and rely more on goodwill than anything else. But they highlight the issue that if enforced, where else would people who want to shop or have business to conduct park for an hour or so while they do that? The question prompted a short discussion at the Manchester Select Board meeting on December 4th.
And I don't care who I offend at this point about parking. I think that is damn right selfish, that they are putting signs up stating that this parking is for us only.
Well, but you got to look at the other side of it, Steve. The zoning told them when they developed that building or when they occupied that building that they had to have that parking in order to do that, and that's at great expense to them. So they spent a lot of money to develop or generate that parking, and then they have a very busy business across the street, and all their overflow fills that parking, and their customers have no place to park. But we told them that they had to have that parking for their store, and they're saying, okay, if you're going to force us to have this parking for our store, we're going to covet it, and we're going to protect it, and we're going to keep it for our store.
But
One solution town officials may be pointing towards is a refurbished and expanded parking area alongside the playing field across Memorial Avenue from the Manchester Elementary Middle School. That could be part of a broader package of changes to the area around the school if all the stars align and agreement with the parties involved comes to be. In its full conception, the plan, estimated to cost around $3.1 million, would convert Memorial Avenue into a cul-de-sac that would create a pickup and drop-off point for students and their parents in front of the school to solve long-standing safety concerns about children having to cross the street to access the playing field or to get from cars to the school building. Memorial Avenue would then be rerouted around the perimeter of the existing field to link up with School Street on the other side. Manchester Town Manager John O'Keefe described the plan to the Manchester Select Board during its meeting on December 4th and later with GNAT TV in a separate interview.
We implemented 2-hour parking all up and down Main Street. We've put up signs. The police department has started to enforce that and to post notices on people's cars. And we switched that from pretty much an unregulated system, except for no parking at nighttime during the winter, to 2-hour parking year-round, because we felt the purpose of those parking spots is not to provide unlimited parking to anyone who wants to park there. It's really, we want to see those spots being turned over. We're looking to build an access road off of Memorial Ave back into the redeveloped parking area. So that piece is there, and so it's a little confusing in some cases. We'd actually be relocating the road away from the school and up to the parking lot, and then up and reconnecting it with School Street. So that might not be necessarily required as part of redeveloping the parking lot, but we're looking at the properties, the town properties through there, the town transportation network, both as cars, bikes, and pedestrians, and then working closely with the school, Taconic and Green, who's the largest school district for MEMS now, and seeing how we can work together to actually improve all of the public properties back through there.
This is similar to an earlier proposal floated nearly 3 years ago, but floundered over the costs and uncertainty about how Act 46, then in its relative infancy, would affect how much the school district would be paying. The difference today is that the plan has been broken into 2 parts. One piece would be all about what the municipality's share would be, and the other part would be borne by the school district. 3 years ago, the Taconic and Green Regional School District had not yet been formed, and it was unclear if all the former school districts, which make up today's Taconic and Green Regional District, would be responsible for paying into renovations which include not just parking and a rerouting of Memorial Avenue, but also changes and improvements to the fields, basketball courts, and playground areas around MEMS. This question was part of the discussion at the Taconic and Green Regional School District's last board meeting, held by coincidence also on December 4th in Londonderry at the Floodbrook School.
Then the question of equity with respect to other schools, with one school getting effectively $1.3 million of stuff, and how to effectively sell that. What absolutely needs to be done. You know,
I suppose what I think is what we need to do is, and it concerns also Dick's question about equity of spending a ton of money on one school and the other, is we need to do as much as we can do to provide the absolute safety of our children. And that's the equity that we're looking for. And that's what you say later on when you talk about the superintendent's, board of superintendents, description of what they believe equity is it's not about sending the same money everywhere. It's making sure everyone has the same thing. So what I'm concerned about here is do what you need to do to make sure the kids are safe. And I'll sign off on that.
But the plan may be subject to further modification and is not yet set in stone. Bennington-Rutland Supervisory Union School Superintendent Jacqueline Wilson discussed the issue with us as well during a follow-up interview. There is flexibility built into it, and some of the proposed pieces like upgrading the MEMS parking lot may not be strictly necessary, and the total cost may be reduced. From a safety standpoint, the key is the pickup and drop-off area in front of the school building.
Well, the part that we'll be mostly focused on from the school's perspective is that creation of that turnaround, the drop-off turnaround that will allow parents to drop off their children without having to cross traffic on the public road. So that, from our perspective, from the Taconic Greens perspective, our concern is safety, and can we make some changes that will create a far safer situation than we have now. We've been in discussion on this topic for as long as I can remember, probably 30 years anyways, and we've tried different things. We had one way once. We've tried a lot of different approaches, and this is the best solution I've seen. So the school, the plan that was presented, I just want to stress that was preliminary. I mean, it's a great plan. The town, I'm really pleased with them. They have, really been helpful in drafting something for us. And then we'll start to look at that and say what makes sense for us. The plan as presented included moving the teacher parking lot and constructing some new fields in the back. We don't need to do that. I mean, we can, our parking lot does need to be paved, but we can do that without having to relocate it. So I don't want folks to think that 1.3 million on the school side is the actual number, because we're not anticipating that we'll come close to that. We don't think that we need to relocate our parking area. So we'll look at that over the next year. So I met with John O'Keefe yesterday. We're going to kind of get our heads together at the start of the new year and start to talk some more about what might be our responsibility, what might be the town's responsibility, what are we thinking about engaging in as a school district on the project, what do we feel is vital for us, and so we'll start that discussion. So we're not looking to, in March, go out for a vote to do anything. It will be at least a year from then. Before we were seeking support from the taxpayers on this. And the part we would have to seek support from the school district is that if we were to relocate that public road, which is now Memorial Ave, and it would go around the perimeter of the field that is across from the school, that will require us giving some land to the town of Manchester, and that will require a public vote. All of the voters in Taconic and Green will have to agree to convey that property.
The timeline for launching these improvements, or if they will even be done at all, is still to be determined. For the GNET TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.